So I'd like to call the regular meeting of the Historic District Commission of Wednesday, August 6th to order. For purpose of the tape, can we call the roll, please?
Alec Kokoska.
Alex Stakeen.
Gary Roberts.
Muffin Jennifer Cook-Riggin.
Angie Nagel.
Quorum being present, we will move on. Thank you for that. Next is the adoption of the agenda. I don't have any corrections to the agenda or additions or deletions. Are both applicants here? The applicant for the garage door is here, and the sign applicant? Okay, great. Fine. Stuart, I was going to ask you, they have very brief, can I just come back to you then? So I'd like to just make the old business, which is really still new business, and put it as, put 6A as 7C. So we can get, these other people don't have to sit around for our other discussion. Okay, with that change corrected, can we get a motion to approve the agenda as corrected?
I move that we move to approve the agenda of Wednesday, August 6, 2025, with the modification to 6A to move that down below new business.
Perfect. Is there a second?
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, we have a meeting. Next is the adoption of the minutes. I do have, Heather, I have one small thing. On the item 5, public comments, it starts in the last paragraph of that, it says, Robert stated the HTC was engaged in planning commission tonight regarding the historic R3 district. Robert's identified nonconformities that were, the word is written, but it should be nonconformities that were in place 100 years before the ordinance was written. Okay, that's the only change I have. Does anybody else have any other changes to the minutes as presented? Otherwise, similarly, we could use a motion to approve the minutes as corrected.
There's my last name's misspelled up under 3. But that's fine.
Where's it at?
There's a C instead of a Z under 3 on page 1.
My
Meyer.
last name is misspelled as well.
Oh my gosh, okay.
Page 1, under present and further down as well. I think it's misspelled all 3 times.
Is it? Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
no problem.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
No problem. All right.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as corrected and modified. For those meetings were from July 2nd.
July 2nd, perfect. Is there a second to that?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, so you'll be able to pick that up in the ones that actually get published.
Right, yes.
Right, okay. Outstanding. Next is item 5, which is public comments. Is there anybody here in the audience that would like to make a comment on something not on the agenda? If you're on the agenda, obviously, we'll get to you. See no one come tearing forward. We will move on to old business. Next is the application for the garage door at 26243. That information, including a nifty old photograph, actually is in your packet. And you can see the garage sits far back. Would you like to come forward and just give us a little cliff note of what's happening here? Mrs. Zielinski?
So the garage door was replaced about 10 years ago, and someone put up a steel door, a non-insulated steel door at that time. So we are having issues with, the laundry area is adjacent to the garage. They're both on a slab, so our pipes are freezing in the winter. So what we would like to do is insulate the garage, so hopefully we don't have that issue anymore because there's not a whole other options we have. We're hoping that a new insulated garage door, along with insulating the interior of the garage, will be helpful. So we'd like to just replace like with like. However, it has a different aesthetic on it, so it will be a slightly different door. And I do have pictures of the current door if you wish to see them, which I did not include in there. I just have a sketch of the proposed door.
That is this, correct?
That is that.
Which is more
Yeah.
touch with the house, the historical, I mean,
And then I have a picture also of the original door. There you go.
Thank you.
And I did price out wood doors, and I,
Oh, thanks. Wow, that's great.
I was gonna say,
The wood door to replace, put a wood door in was $19,000.
This is actually
So-
gonna be still a roll-up door, it's not a,
Correct.
it's not a hinge door, right?
Correct.
Correct.
Several of these are in the neighborhood,
Yeah.
a couple on historic properties, and so it is a pretty door.
Yeah, no, I think it's fine, and is actually more appropriate than
Yeah.
this would be.
Yeah.
So, one quick question, are you gonna paint that white or the field color of the house?
It'll be white, the same color as the trim on the house.
Same color as the
So
trim?
if it doesn't match when it goes up, it'll be the same color as the trim.
Okay, that-
It's not primed, it is coming painted white. However, I do like things to match, so if it's not exact, it'll get repainted.
right. And these are actual glass panels? that-
Yes. Yeah.
So that's good. All right, what's your pleasure? Anybody have any comment, question, or concern about this? This is the door as presented. It's kind of a sort of a faux hinge thing, but that's okay. It gives it a little more detail. It's certainly nicer than what they have. So, are you okay? Everybody's okay? Yep. Then we could use a motion to approve the new garage door as presented at 26,243 Vincennes for all the reasons you know.
I will motion to approve the replacement of the garage door at 26243 Vincennes as presented, as it complies with our Secretary of Interior's number 9.
Outstanding. Is there a second to that?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Good luck with your project.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Yeah, you too. Okay, next is the sign at 32740 Franklin Road, which there is also a photograph in your packet of that. And if you would like to just come forward and give us a little bit of what you're doing, I do have some information for you as well. You are,
Vera Perkovic.
and it is your building?
No, I'm the owner of the business of So Good Alterations.
Okay, okay. So you're creating the alteration sign and
Yes.
putting it up there? All right. Well, here is, in your packet on page, I don't know, in the middle. Here's the mock-up of the size of it.
Yes,
This, as it's presented,
yes.
does not meet the sign ordinance, but it's close. So what you need to do is come back, Mr. Dinnan, our building official, is on vacation this coming week, but it needs to be not any taller than the adjacent signs. It
That's
needs to-
that's not the sign.
that's
That's
not-
the sign that is there right now, but that's temporary.
So does this one in the back, what's the size of the one that's in here? Is it the same size as this one?
It says on the application, it's same size as the sign Franklin Cleaners.
24 by 89.
But 24 is the same size as that one, though. It should be only 20 inches.
Oh, 20 inches?
Yes, in order to fit in that space.
Right. They gotta line up along the bottom end,
Oh, okay.
okay?
20
Just-
by, 20 by what?
Well, it also it can only be 12 square feet in area is the maximum size. And the size that you presented is about, let's see here, 16 square feet. Or, I'm sorry.
No, it's not that much.
1483. It's up under 1483.
Well, your sign exceeds the maximum size by 2.83 square feet.
Right, so Bill's idea was we just make it a little thinner and we'll get close enough. The building official asked if you could just come down here in the following week and he'll work out the dimensions for you and then you can just order it.
Okay,
Is that okay?
yeah, that sounds good.
Right, so, yeah, because he's gonna figure out how to help you make it fit. But we understand that it's gonna be this is the words, right?
Yes,
Right,
yes,
okay.
that's the,
So he'll help you dimensionally. You might have to squeeze it a little bit, but it won't hurt you any.
okay,
So-
yeah.
So in this case, I think we can approve her sign, subject to Mr. Dinnan's final approval of the dimensions. Does that bother you any? And is this roughly the right colors?
Yes,
Okay. So if that's all right with you guys, we can assume this So Good alteration sign as presented, subject to Bill Dinnan's final approval of the dimensions, which I reviewed with him on the phone, actually.
Like a motion.
That's a motion. That's a concept for a motion. Have at it.
Okay, well, I'll make a motion to approve the sign application for 32740 Franklin Road, with the recommendation and final approval from Bill Dinnan, on the necessary dimensions, which cannot exceed 12 square feet.
Right. And somewhere in there, we want to say as presented, it looks like this.
So the sign as presented, we approve, as long as it fits with
But the
Bill Dinnan.
length is fine, but not the width, right?
Correct.
I think that's correct.
That's gonna
The height.
shrink the dimension to an
And
acceptable
if you
size.
want to stretch it a little bit, no.
Yeah.
Bill will work it out with you.
No problem, I didn't know that.
All right.
You learn.
So we have a motion. Is there a second?
I second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
You have a sign. Good luck.
Thank you.
Good luck with your alterations company, too.
Thank you,
Welcome
thank
to
you.
Franklin.
Which day should I come next week?
Why don't you call our clerk here, 626-9666,
Okay,
and she'll tell you when he can see you.
thank you.
All right, thanks very much.
Thank
All right. Moving on to the illustrious Planning Commission. Our next item is the discussion of the zoning regulations for R3. Mr. Chairman, would you like to kick this off?
We're back, and we brought more planning commissioners.
Should I be concerned if we're outnumbered?
You're not outnumbered, so you shouldn't be concerned.
Okay, good.
No, actually, I mean, this is solidarity for our village, right?
And thank you all for coming, by the way. I'm sure you had better things to do tonight than listen to us.
We can still hear the music.
And well, I guess Trustee Ferris was on the planning prior to becoming a trustee. So I don't know if you want to count that number to even it out, but anyway. So you received two letters from one from Mr. Duzen and then one from myself with regards to the results of our discussion in our last planning commission in regards to the R3 district. I don't think we misquoted each other. I think we were pretty consistent in the message. I did not CC you on it, which is my fault for doing that, for not sending it that message to you as well. But given that the McKenna letterhead looks a lot better, maybe I'll have Chris kind of explain his memo, which highlights the exact same
Yeah, if you could
things.
give us the Cliff version of those, that would be good to be on the record with.
Well, right now, let's deal with the setbacks, first of all. In the R3 district, the front yard setback is 30 feet. The side yard setback is a minimum of 10 feet, and then the total of both sides is 25 feet. And in the rear yard, the minimum setback is 40 feet. And the Planning Commission recommends the following two revisions. Delete the total of both sides 25 feet requirement, and reduce the rear yard setback to 30 feet. So those are two of the revisions. And then, with respect to detached accessory buildings, you'll recall that in the R3 district, the minimum setback currently is 10 feet. And the Planning Commission recommends that this setback be reduced to 5 feet. Now, you recall that Bill Dinnan, in his July 16th email to the HDC, raised the issue that about a 5-foot setback
For fire protection.
For fire
for
code.
fire protection, but the issue that he raised would apply to buildings that are set back less than 5 feet. So by changing the setback to 5 feet, it does not conflict with Bill Dinnan's issue.
So can I ask a question in here?
Yes,
So let's just say I have an existing outbuilding and it's 5 foot 1 inch away, okay?
right.
Or let's say it's 5 feet away. If I'm not altering it, by virtue of the fact that I don't have this 1 hour rating, that doesn't make me a non-conformance, does it?
No,
That's just a building matter, not I don't have to change anything if I'm 5 feet away. What if I'm 4 foot, even if I'm 4 foot 10 away, I don't have to try to retrofit a 1-hour rating wall on this.
No, you don't.
Right, because I'm not changing anything.
Right.
It should have been caught in the permitting and construction phase, if that was, during when that was made. As long as as long as the code was applicable at the time of construction.
Because the overall driver here is to have these buildings be replaceable.
Yes.
So if it
Right.
burns down or falls down or something, and I want to go put the exact same thing back up, I don't have to struggle with nonconformance,
Yes,
right?
right. But if,
4-foot, 10
I would.
setback building,
You
you would
would.
have a problem.
yes.
And that
You
would
would have
send me
to
to the ZBA.
Right. And you would have to probably move that building 2 inches.
Right. See, as everybody here, we're talking about, the issue is replacing an existing nonconformance doesn't really fly very well.
Right.
So this makes these, this corrects that.
How many, what was the percentage again for the,
75%.
so this fixes 75% of the
Yeah.
existing nonconformance or never existing nonconformance, but just nonconformant. So,
So to me, that just is a bureaucracy saving event, right? Why send all these people into ZBA if they don't need to do that? If they're gonna add on to something else.
Or celebrate if you're still in 25%. And hope your garage doesn't burn down.
Or your barn,
Yeah.
or anything else that's.
But even if it did, you still have the option to go to the ZBA and say, hey, I had this for 150 years.
yes.
And when you think about it, a 10-foot setback is just creating dead space,
Correct.
10 feet of dead space that nobody can use.
Especially with 30 and 40-foot lots.
Right,
Right, you're already.
That's just way too much, so.
right.
I personally, I don't know how you all feel, but I think we should encourage the planning commission to move on the setback numbers. As Mr. Duzen suggests. Everybody's nodding yes, so I think, we're not gonna vote on this because we don't need to, but just in terms of feedback, I think you got the majority up here
That's great.
saying, we like it.
Yep.
Now, I'm sorry,
Fences.
you wanna go on to the fences?
Yeah,
Okay. I do have comments on that.
well, following the HDC's recommendation, I researched the regulations regarding fences in Northville and Plymouth. And the primary takeaway for the planning commission from that analysis was that each community must develop its own fence regulations
Sure.
based on its own regulatory history and community character. So the basic finding was that they weren't too impressed with Plymouth and Northville's fence regulations.
Okay.
So the planning commission did not draft any recommended revisions to Franklin fence regulations. Instead, it put forth the following questions to you. Do you, the HGC, see the need to change the fence regulations in the R3 district? And if so, how? Basically, they want to hear from you.
Okay. I have, and I'll start this off because this could spur other discussion. I have really 3 comments on the fences. Number 1 is, one of the things that I find very frustrating is in the same fence line over here, just even right over here, you could have 2 or 3 different types of material. So let's say your stockade fence gets wobbly and you want to fix it. I think you need to bring up to compliance, whatever line you're on needs to be the same darn thing. Maybe it changes height or something. And I don't like the board stockade. It should have some degree of opacity, in my opinion, to it, no matter what. But whatever it is, if it's all wood, it's all wood. It doesn't go up and down and split rail and then chain link over here, it's rusty and that,
Well, chain link, I believe, is not an approved.
it isn't, but if you don't
Fence
take
material.
it down, it can stay there.
Yeah. Like the one.
We-
I mean, unless it's a
there's
dog run.
100
What did that-
right
yeah.
now.
Dog runs and tennis courts are allowed.
Okay.
That chain link, and pools
There's just a
enclosures.
random one
But
at
that's
the
it,
corner.
those are the
It'd
only.
be pretty tough to get a tennis court in here, but yes. But you see what I'm saying about, you're opening the door now.
Yes.
If the guy's gonna repair part of his fence, to say, look, let's just have an all wood fence or an all split rail fence, or whatever it is you're doing, as opposed to 3 or 4 different things.
So would they come before you for
Yes,
fencing?
yes.
And so this is something that can be addressed in the replacement of the fence? If they put forth the effort to actually follow through and actually meet with you, then that could be solved in that regard without changing the ordinance. Is that correct? Or,
Well, what we have done, we keep finding though, is we end up punting to the ZBA. Yeah, we'll approve a wood fence, subject to the ZBA approving your fence because it's on the line or it's too wrong, it's the wrong height, this, that, or the next thing. So I think it'd be nice to just clean up the regulations so we can say, as long as you're in conformance with the fence ordinance.
I will say, there is a line about consistency. A fence should be consistent.
Right.
I mean, it's a little bit vague, but I think it allows us to have that request, that our fences need to be consistent. They can't be varying like that.
Well, Pete, I was gonna ask you, so we got an imaginary fence and it comes to us. We send it to ZBA, but it never gets to the planning commission, does it?
I'm fairly certain that, they're really obligated to comply with all planning ordinances, all of our ordinances. So, not only do they have to comply with planning and come in front of us, but they also have to comply with historic district, requests as well.
they would only come before us if there was a site plan approval necessary.
Which you wouldn't have in just a
Right.
straight fence replacement.
And so they would go to the former ZBA and yourself, your body as well. But the ordinance itself, once we make an improvement, once we make a recommendation to council, then the council would have to make that update. But unless it's a site plan review, we would never see it.
Right, it would be caught by building department.
But right now, we don't have any words on our side, I don't think, to express the interest in this continuity thing. I don't think we have any language to fall back on that.
We could clarify it more.
Let me, thanks, Pete. So let me explore this a little bit with you, and feel free, planning, come on up and talk. You're talking about single property conformance, or are you talking about like row of homes conformance on the fence? Like
I don't know how you
switching from
impose
wood to,
Yeah, but how do you impose something on the neighbor who's not proposing a change?
that's right, yeah, no, but the question, so so good, we can leave that off the table. Thanks, that makes things easier. That's clear. But then within a single property, what conformity are we talking about? Are we talking about same linear direction, perpendicular as well? I'm just trying to explore the preference because I want to make sure I understand what you're recommending. Because if, for example, even in the Northville and the Plymouth homes, you could have a 4-foot high fence in front or like on the side yard, but then towards the backyard you could have a 6-foot fence, and you had to angle it up or change same fence style, but change. Do you see what I'm saying? What are we looking for from conformancy? Because if we write something into it, we could have side effects that we want to make sure we're okay with as side effects.
Take mine as an example. I've got sub 36 in the front now after we moved in 13 and cut it in half. The side yard between me and my northern neighbor is taller in front, and it goes 6 foot as you get back. Their northern part has a wooden fence, a different style, one part of it, because it was a replacement with their neighbor. My side has, and then the other part, it's 36, but then it goes up in the back. And then I tore down part of it in the back because I'm trying to figure out how to replace it. 'Cause the
But
property
same
line changed.
same style, but
Same style.
Just
same
different height.
wood, different heights, different
so
directional. So potentially, if we're going for continuity,
It has to be
should I?
is it the height? Is it the material?
I think it's
It
more
seems like
material
material.
than height. I think
Yeah,
it's material.
I agree in material, like
Height, you
looking,
can never, everyone's property is.
looking at one that's been brought up to us several times before I was expecting today, that has a couple different materials on it, right?
Yeah.
As it goes in the length of direction there, for whatever reason.
Right, same direction, different material.
Because there is a difference in side yard versus backyard fencing structure. And depending on, and each lot is slightly different depending on if you have a neighbor or not.
Right.
Right, if you're sharing a fence with a neighbor, you might not, and previous owners had made an agreement to share lot line or something like that, or with the fence, then you might be stuck either having to conform to that fence line or fence style, or if are we opening up the other flexibility that all three other sides have the same material. I'm just trying to get through the nuances because I don't want to have to come back and say, have to present something that
I
you're not
think the
happy with.
primary aesthetic issue is in the same lit line.
Yeah.
This is the fence line, and it gets to the back line and it becomes something different, that's one. But when this thing changes to get back there, now you have just a real hodgepodge.
Right.
And that happens like right over here.
Is it when it crosses lot lines? So let's say we have I have my house here, there's a house here, and there's a house here, that line going this way, if that fence continues, but it's a different material going this way, we're okay. But
Because
if
it goes off your site.
off your lot.
I think when it goes off
Yeah.
your lot and the other guy's not
Yeah.
proposing anything,
Yep.
then how can we say, hey,
You're not responsible for that.
Right.
Alex wants to change his fence, so you change yours.
But
It's never gonna work.
But if I have
But
three
within yours.
different kinds here, I should make this uniform.
That's
But if I have-
that's my position.
I'd agree.
From a material standpoint, material and look and feel standpoint, not height.
And is yours solid? I mean, can you see through it, or is it?
Yeah, it's see-through, it's just pickets.
Okay. So that's the other question, Chris. You know, you see a lot of these fence ordinances say, I want some degree of opacity.
Can I
You know-
make a comment on that though?
Yes.
So for example, my lot butts up to a commercial space. And so that commercial space has
Solid.
privacy, solid.
That's
along,
different.
yeah, along the back and along part of the side. Now, when we came up and presented putting up a picket fence, we just matched ours to Laura's
Yeah.
existing. So,
Well, I think when you're abutting a commercial zone, that's easy.
okay,
That's easy.
okay.
They
You're
should
not
be
making
solid.
my job easier by saying that.
I'm sorry, I know, but I had to
Easy
throw
for
it
us.
out there because I'm
Easy
like,
for
I'm
us.
not
Isn't there a different
placing my
ordinance on
rights.
commercial,
There is,
residential
but she's in
zone
a
change?
residential area abutting to a commercial, and so
Which is same as me, right?
Right.
I'm a
Yeah.
residential butting to a commercial, so.
You
we
are.
would need
Yeah,
to
I
have
mean, those
a
are-
provision that would deal with residential abutting to commercial, which makes the ordinance more unique.
I think with the HDC.
Well, there is a provision in
There is a provision,
Okay. So, if it already exists, sorry, I'm not,
there is something in there about you have to put some form of.
The commercial
potentially-
person is supposed to put the fence in that case.
Right.
yes.
Supposedly.
And that brings me to my other, before we leave the material
But,
part of it.
I'm sorry, let me finish the statement but what you mentioned is that you continued it onto a residential property that matched the commercial structure. That's the concern with the ordinance, is because it turned from a commercial property boundary style that was acceptable to a residential that might not have been acceptable without an exception. And so when you write an ordinance that way, then you have to write an ordinance such that you can mimic your commercial partner, but you can't, but your next door neighbor can't. And,
Right.
and now they're gonna have to see your commercial style, say, hey, I really like having all of my like having full opacity, but I can't do it because I'm not abutting to a commercial, but my next door neighbor is.
Right. That gets complicated.
So that's where the ordinance gets more complicated, because now we're applying an ordinance that might not be even across all the neighbors.
So in theory, Angie's fence should be the commercial line, stop at the corner and become something else.
Which also ruins
But
the
that doesn't give
continuity
you,
discussion,
it
right?
doesn't give you as much privacy.
Not, it's turned in the corner though, does that change anything if it turns the corner on the lot line?
Yeah, what if it did, in yours house, what if it didn't change at the corner? If it just, if it did change at the corner, you had the solid
Yeah.
back and then something lower, side, would that bother you?
It
or
would
not?
be very exposed,
Would be, because
Yeah.
you'd see around the end,
yeah,
because the neighbor doesn't have
Right.
such a thing.
yeah.
So
It's complicated.
that's why I'm raising it.
Right.
Because I'm thinking of people coming before you, people coming before ZBA, and how they would have to address that. Because ideally, I'd like to not have, ideally, well, and correct me if you have different opinions, please, commissioners. But if we can apply as much of the fencing ordinance across the village as possible, then it's a more fair ordinance. I know that the historic district has its own carve-outs because it's a historic district. So if there is a compliancy for R3 in this case, then that makes sense because you're applying it to all of R3. But as long as we can apply it to all of R3 without a lot of little carve-outs, then we don't feel like, then someone looking at the ordinance doesn't feel like they're picking and choosing homes that they think are okay and aren't okay, and now you're making everyone conform to already pre-approved home styles.
Right.
And because we'll have trouble later if someone were to bring it to a judge and they say that we're not applying the ordinance evenly and fairly across the whole zone, or the whole district, then
Then you'll lose.
we'll lose. Yes, Linda, please. Please come up.
For purposes of the tape, could you just put your name on the record?
Okay, Linda Novak. So as a member of planning and of zoning, the one thing that has to be kept in mind always is that the ultimate goal of zoning is for all the non-conforming uses to conform. So, keeping that in mind, if we have a little bit more consistency, or we can enhance it with, I'm assuming that's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Having consistency. And, Stuart, what was the number of homes that we found that were
In violation of fence.
in violation?
Six.
Wasn't it like 65%?
Well,
So-
not percentage, well, 6 homes, I think, were in violation of fence ordinance, right? Is what we found?
Was it only 6? I think it was more than that. But,
Oh, you mean like with regards to whether it's chain link and other?
well, height, opacity,
The 6 on the map, wasn't that
yeah.
correct?
Right, 6 on the map.
Were specifically height, is that correct? They were height issues?
They were height issues. I think there were some opacity issues because, you can have a privacy screen, but a screen is different than
It's
a
taller.
fence. Well, and it's a different material. I mean, a screen can be,
Board tight.
yeah. But that is the ultimate goal, is
Right.
that, and I did kind of some research into this, and if somebody has to, well, first of all, if somebody keeps their fence in repair regularly, then you shouldn't have to replace more
Then they
than
won't
a
come here.
board.
'Cause our
That's
thing
right.
is,
They
if
wouldn't
you
be
can do
here.
maintenance on your house, you can take out a board, put another board, paint the same, you don't even need to come
But
here.
the problem is when people come and their fence is falling down. Well,
Right.
if it's, basically, what we determined is it's about 50%. If somebody has to replace that many boards, they are no longer going to be allowed to put that up. Then they will have to bring it into conformity. So the question is, what do we want to do to enhance that, to make it stronger and more consistent when it does come in
How
front of
many
zoning?
houses are abutting commercial? Did you look at that?
Oh, I
Do we know that?
We actually didn't look, we didn't address that because of the ones that you pointed out, I
Not
don't
a-
think any of those were ones.
No, they weren't.
Well, you got both.
It's gotta be 1, 2, 4.
And you got all the Huda side.
It can't be that many, so maybe it's.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah, but those weren't the ones that we were calling out as non-conforming,
No.
conforming.
But again, just
Here's
the
what
two
the,
things. My driver was the different materials in the same line.
Right.
Right.
Andy raises a different question about the commercial side, which I think does need to be addressed. And maybe it does have some degree of return on the side yards for that, if there's a way to, we can write that. My main thing though is consistency there. The other thing is we're on materials. Is there any reason why we couldn't have finished materials on both sides of a privacy fence? Because that was a complaint of somebody over here, hey, they turned the back of the fence on me. Well, if you're gonna do a new one, maybe you have finished materials on both sides
Well, it's-
of a privacy fence. Is there any reason we can't do
There
that?
has to be a finished sign, I'm sorry.
Well,
Get your sense.
Fine, you put these on instead. If you are putting up a fence, the code is that there has to be a finished side.
Agreed.
On the neighbor's side. Now, if you choose to finish both sides, that's fine, but you can't be required to finish both sides. If you want to look at the bad side of a fence, have at it.
but we have complaints about people putting the non-finished side on their side.
That is more than likely a violation. The
Right.
finished side,
Yeah,
it has to be a finished side on the neighbor's side according.
Is that the way it's written right now?
126404 or
Pretty much everywhere, I think.
126402?
Yeah, but we're,
I don't know
we
what
have
section it is, but
testimony that says that they're not doing that.
Yeah,
that
well,
is a requirement.
That's why
yes.
there's a zoning meeting next week.
Okay.
Actually, not.
All right, well, as long as you feel that that's covered adequately, fine. The other thing is the 5-foot business. If my privacy fence is in 5 feet and your privacy fence is in 5 feet, now we've got 10 feet of widow strip that neither of us is probably gonna maintain very well. Can we just try to have some reasonable language that says we'll cooperate with the neighbors and do them on the property line? How do we do that?
For privacy fence?
Yeah,
But a privacy fence,
Well,
that's an opaque fence though, right?
that would be a major change to the privacy fence. But let me go back to the finished appearance. There is a requirement that says that the side of the fence with the more finished appearance shall face the exterior of the lot.
okay.
So that is a
But
requirement
that's
of the
not for
ordinance.
screening though, right? If they make a screening fence, is that part of the requirement too? I don't know.
Well, that's a general requirement applicable to all fences.
Okay, so screening would include, okay. just-
Right.
And
And-
what is the allowance for, you know, in general, the fence should have whatever percentage, sorry. In general, the fence should have a certain amount of opacity, 40%, something, hard to measure, but that is in general, be really, the only place where a screening fence is allowed, is my understanding, is a privacy screen. And it may be for the commercial, a budding commercial as well. It certainly would make sense.
Well, let me address the commercial fence.
Yeah,
Commercial fence is sort of interesting because, let me go back to the, there's two parts of the ordinance that address that. In the C1 district, I can find it again.
Part of the problem we're running into, while he's
It
looking that up,
says,
is enforcement anyway.
Says protective screening for C1 districts adjacent to or near residential districts shall be in compliance with the regulations set forth in section 1268.27 and section 1268.29. I think it's interesting, it says adjacent to, which is pretty definite, but then it says or near to residential districts, which is pretty indefinite.
yeah,
I mean, that would
pretty
be-
vague.
But it says in section 1268.29, it says, "A wooden fence consisting of cedar, treated wood, or a material similar in appearance to wood with a minimum height of 4 1/2 feet and a maximum height of 6 1/2 feet. Stockade fences are not permitted." And then it provides the option of masonry wall of 4 1/2 feet to 6 1/2 feet.
Okay,
So that's what the commercial operator is supposed to put in next to residential. A wood fence or a masonry wall somewhere between 4 1/2 to 6 1/2 feet in height, adjacent to residential or quote unquote near residential.
if they're doing something, if they're not changing their site plan, then their
Right,
planning commission has no way to force them to do something.
that's correct.
All right, well, we have no legislative capacity anyway. I mean, we have no judicial capacity anyway as a body. It would be forwarded to ZBA or to council.
No, but if I was coming in with a site plan for a
Oh,
commercial
yes.
building, then you'd say, oh yeah, put a fence there.
But we make a
Right.
recommendation to council, which then approves it still.
Okay, sure, yeah.
Right, right. But if they're just
But you'll
sitting
pick
there
up
not
the
doing
issue.
anything,
Yeah,
and they don't have the fence now, they can continue forever without the fence.
unless they,
Come in with a
Amend the
site
site
plan and
plan.
want to do something.
yeah, right. But at least we should, for that event, the way we
Right.
want it.
So, I think ultimately, what it comes down to though is for planning, the reason why we didn't want to touch fencing is because some of it is mostly compliance, like actually people actually being forced into compliance when they're building the structure. Things are getting built potentially or changed or modified without proper channels being followed. And so, the reason why we are asking your questions tonight is because if there are additional things that should be changed that are okay from a compliance or need to be added for compliance standpoint, in either case, if we modify the ordinance, we're still running into the same problem of nonconformity by not going through channels. And then we have a structure that's been created for 20 years later, saying that, we've had this, I had this, the homeowner before me had this, and now, but what do you mean I'm not legally non-conforming? And so that's the challenge. That's actually a question more for council than it is for you.
Because none of us in this room have any enforcement
But, yeah,
capability, none.
right.
All we can do is rely on the building official and on the enforcement officer to go after it. And if we can't rely on that, then that's a different problem.
So we we don't have any changes, recommendations for that because we feel that some of the things should just not be there. They shouldn't exist anyway, and follow the fencing ordinance and let that be the ordinance as it is, because that's the way that the villages run it for the last however many decades. But because we can open this book and write a new page, with your input, that's really what we're looking for. And it sounds like from the first point is conformance of a linear line.
Yeah,
Having the same material along the same linear line,
yeah.
that makes sense. That's something that I think would be fair. It's also fair across the village too, to be honest with you. But especially for new fences being put up. I mean, switching from a picket fence to a split rail fence back to something else, a stone fence. I mean, a stone wall or something like that. I mean, there's ways to make it look nice, but at the same time, it being inconsistent, that's something that we can look at the verbiage on, and then see if council agrees, right, with that verbiage.
And we can still make an aesthetic judgment and recommendation when they come to this level. If they have some stone corners or something, we would encourage that, actually. Let's, before, I don't want to belabor this too long, but let's go back to the 5-foot question for a second.
Okay.
Is there any way that we can kind of push these things, all these things on these small lots out to the property line? Is your fence on the property line? Yeah, and your fence is on the property line. That's the best way for us to create these 10-foot strips on a 40-foot lot, geez.
What is that? How many inches from the property line can you have a fence currently anyway? I thought it was 18.
Let me see if I can.
I think they
find
can
it.
go right on the property line,
It's
but
the screen.
there's something in the privacy fence where it has to step in 5 feet.
Privacy fence is
Right.
different, yes.
Privacy fence cannot be located within the setbacks.
See, that's what I think is a tactical problem for us.
Well, it's supposed to enclose like a patio or something of that nature.
But if my backyard's only 40 feet wide, and you want me to take 5 feet potentially on either side, now you're encroaching my patio. Wouldn't I rather have it out on the property line and not throw that land away?
Yeah, that's the essence of what we were getting at when we brought
Started.
up when we started.
So we don't need to solve it, I'm just pointing
Well,
to you.
no, I would
That's-
like to have more
it's-
understanding and more discussion on this, because I will say, last time we were here, there was also a discussion about a non-conforming fence that was recently replaced, that is a privacy fence, and it's within 18 inches of a house, and
Right.
they can't walk by. That would not, if it was on the line, I would imagine you would need to have neighborhood agreement if you're gonna put a fence on the line with style and, I mean, this is why you have an option to have a separation from this lot line, so that you don't necessarily have to have your neighbor's agreement, that if they don't like the style of your fence, they put up a style that they like. And now you've got hopefully a lawn mowing distance between the two,
That's the same, a lawn
but then no one has that, it's a no man's zone. And
is.
it looks silly,
Yeah.
but now you have to have two neighbors agreeing on what a fence looks like, and especially if you're sharing a lot line.
Especially in that example, there's not 5 feet on either side to even put, like,
That's
move
right.
back and do anything. So
And
it's
there's
already
definitely not
not
agreement by both parties.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So in theory, I mean, in principle, I agree with you. Having a zero dead zone between properties makes sense, but unless we have a guideline that we just apply across the board to say everyone has to have this style, a choice of these 3 styles or 4 styles or whatever on the lot line, where you can't have, that way you don't have neighbors that say, well, I don't agree with you, to minimize that negotiation, then I'm struggling to be able to write an ordinance that will actually change anything.
What they did back in like 82 on ours is, so we found out recently, is our property line is actually on our neighbor's driveway. So if you go, we're looking at Oakland County, the property line was actually inside our kitchen, because there was an agreement back in 82 to say, we are granting you the easement of your driveway 5 feet to the fence, and so then you can handle the fence. Well, Mr. Cesare and others thought it was fence plus 5 feet is really what we gave away, not in that the property line was the fence, because everyone in town thought the property line was the fence, not that the property line was back here and then granted over. So was fun to clean some stuff up, but that was the there was legal parties having to be involved back in '82 when, if this was even there, to say, hey, this 5 feet is gonna be handled this way, which doesn't really,
No, it creates headaches later on, further down the road.
yeah.
Right, but if you had an ordinance that said fences will be along the property line unless you can demonstrate a specific hardship, in which case you would go to the ZBA and plead your case. I mean, this 18-inch thing is an anomaly. That doesn't happen. It's only in one spot.
Yeah.
Unless, it's almost like it's, the fence can be along the property line unless there isn't 5 feet of available distance between a structure and the fence, or it goes through something like that to ZBA.
Yeah, or it goes to the ZBA. But you're not gonna get out of the ZBA in every situation,
Right.
but this thing, everybody keeps quoting the 18 inches, that's not prevalent. It's a small little area of the whole.
Right, well, and they are allowed to put fence where I mean, they're allowed to put fence, just not as tall a fence where it is today, so
Yeah.
it's a bit of a challenge regardless, because they could make the fence in conformance, and it's still a problem for the neighbor,
For the neighbor.
right? So, in fact, it's even less room if they actually put it on the right location as a fence, rather than the existing location as a screen fence. So they're a lose-lose situation, unfortunately, the way it's set up.
It's an outlier too in the village.
It is
You
an
walk around
outlier.
the village, there's nothing else that even matches up with that scenario of
Right.
multiple materials in the situation with the property line to where it is, and everything else that's gone on in that. There's nothing else like that.
Combative neighbors, yeah.
Well, I mean, it creates a situation of that's not good for either neighbor, right?
Right.
Because of that. So just, we're gonna talk about it in our meeting in 2 weeks, but at the same time, is there any feedback or input that you want to with regards to discussion on lot line fencing, putting fences on lot line? How would we want to manage that, or discussions on that, Pete?
Well, really, it's more general, just the, uniformity, consistency throughout all of Franklin is important. I also believe that, the historic district is so special that it's worthy of, within the law, that we allow special circumstances that makes it easier for you guys to, so I would just say that thinking out of the box is certainly a positive thing here, in my opinion. We have, it's almost as though there's, that's what history is. You have something that's non-conforming, that's very old. And in many cases, maybe we don't want them to become conforming. The higher value is that they be, preserved and saved and allowed to be rebuilt if there's damage to them. And, initially, I think in looking at this, there was a somewhat of a feeling that, we can keep our ordinances very close to what they are, and allow the HTC and the ZBA to handle a lot of these matters. So, just food for thought.
Well, no, and I appreciate that, Pete. And certainly with regard to the fences, there's lots of nuances, as you suggest. I think the setback thing that Mr. Dusan outlined, you should move forward with right away. Allow us to replace non-conforming structures if they burn down or fall down or whatever, without having an extra bureaucratic loop for no reason. That makes all the sense in the world to me, so. Well, listen, does anybody have any other comments that we want to, this doesn't have to be the end. We can certainly, we can come to you.
Oh, we still have public hearings, and we have to discuss this, and please come, yes?
And we're welcome, we can come to your meeting too if we need to, so.
Yeah, please. But it's gonna be a topic, so if
Yeah.
something comes to your mind, please.
When is the next one?
2 weeks. So 2 weeks from today at 7 o'clock.
Yeah, I'm gonna be up north, but
I think I'm out of town.
if somebody wants
Yeah.
to go audit that would be swell. All right, well, I don't think there's any motion for us, but that was the business. And thank you all for coming. I very appreciate you taking your time out to come to our meeting. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
By the way, that is the last agenda item. Is there anything else anybody wants to throw out here on the table before we go? All right, then we are adjourned. Hold on, I gotta do this.